Life in Port Charles has a way of turning quiet moments into unforgettable ones. Just when relationships seem to be finding solid ground, a single conversation begins a chain of events that forces everyone involved to question what they thought they knew. A misunderstanding grows into a confrontation. An unexpected confession changes the direction of several lives, and two families find themselves searching for a path toward understanding. For Carly, protecting the people she loves has always been second nature. She trusts her instincts, and those instincts rarely stay silent when something feels out of place. Recently, she has noticed subtle changes in the people around her. Conversations stop the moment she enters a room. Friends avoid eye contact. Even ordinary gatherings carry an unusual sense of tension. At first, Carly believes everyone is simply dealing with personal challenges, but the feeling refuses to disappear. Meanwhile, Britt has been keeping to herself more than usual. She's thrown her energy into helping others, hoping that staying busy will quiet the questions weighing on her mind. She tells herself that some situations simply need time to resolve. Unfortunately, time only makes the silence louder. One afternoon, Carly unexpectedly overhears part of a conversation between Britt and another resident of Port Charles. She only catches a few sentences, but they are enough to leave her wondering whether something important has been hidden from her. Rather than jumping to conclusions, Carly decides to quietly observe. The more she watches, the more she becomes uncertain. Britt appears distracted during conversations. She hesitates before answering simple questions. She seems burdened by something she cannot bring herself to say. Carly begins wondering if Britt is carrying a responsibility she was never meant to handle alone. Elsewhere, Josslyn finds herself facing an entirely different struggle. She has been holding on to information that has grown heavier with every passing day. What began as an innocent attempt to protect someone has slowly transformed into a burden that affects every decision she makes. She knows the truth cannot stay hidden forever. Every time she considers speaking openly, fear convinces her to wait just a little longer. But waiting has consequences. As misunderstandings continue growing throughout Port Charles, Josslyn realizes that remaining silent may actually cause more harm than telling the truth. After several restless nights, she makes a decision. No more secrets. No more avoiding difficult conversations. She gathers the courage to speak honestly, no matter where the truth may lead. On the same day, Carly finally approaches Britt. The meeting begins calmly. Carly explains that she has sensed something changing and simply wants honest answers. Britt listens carefully before admitting she has indeed been carrying concerns she never intended to keep forever. She explains that she feared sharing incomplete information might create unnecessary worry for everyone involved. Her intentions were never dishonest. She simply wanted to be certain before speaking. Carly appreciates the explanation, but also expresses her frustration. She reminds Britt that trust is built through communication, especially during uncertain moments. The emotional conversation remains respectful, yet both women recognize how easily misunderstandings can grow when people assume silence is protecting others. Before either has a chance to say more, Josslyn arrives. She quietly admits there is something everyone deserves to hear. The room falls completely silent. Taking a deep breath, Josslyn explains that several recent misunderstandings all trace back to one simple decision she made weeks earlier. She had overheard an important conversation. Unsure whether it was her place to repeat what she heard, she chose to remain silent. Unfortunately, that silence allowed incorrect assumptions to spread throughout Port Charles. As Josslyn carefully explains every detail, confusion begins giving way to clarity. The pieces suddenly fit together. Situations that once seemed suspicious now make sense. People who appeared distant were simply trying to protect one another without realizing they were creating even greater uncertainty. Carly slowly realizes that Britt was never trying to deceive anyone. Britt had simply been carrying the weight of uncertainty while hoping to avoid causing unnecessary
Josslyn
panic.
understands that even well-meaning silence can unintentionally create larger problems. The difficult conversation becomes a valuable lesson for everyone involved. Instead of blaming one another, they begin discussing how honesty, even when uncomfortable, helps strengthen relationships far more than silence ever can. News of the conversation quietly spreads throughout Port Charles. Friends begin reaching out to one another. Old misunderstandings are resolved. Several strained relationships slowly begin healing. Inspired by what happened, other residents choose to have conversations they had postponed for far too long. Unexpected apologies are exchanged. Forgiveness becomes easier. Trust slowly returns. For Carly, the experience changes her perspective. She realizes that even the strongest instincts need patience before reaching conclusions. Listening can sometimes accomplish more than confrontation. For Britt, the experience becomes equally meaningful. She promises herself never to carry important concerns alone again. Sharing difficult truths may feel uncomfortable, but facing challenges together is always better than facing them in isolation. As for Josslyn, speaking honestly lifts an enormous weight from her shoulders. She discovers that courage is not about having perfect answers. It is about choosing truth despite uncertainty. Weeks later, life throughout Port Charles feels noticeably lighter. The friendships that survived the misunderstanding emerge stronger than before. Families spend more time together. Neighbors reconnect. The atmosphere throughout town slowly shifts from suspicion to optimism. One evening, Carly, Britt, and Josslyn unexpectedly cross paths again. This time, there is no tension, only quiet smiles. No dramatic speeches are needed. Each of them understands that the hardest conversations often become the most important ones. As they go their separate ways, Port Charles continues moving forward. New opportunities await. Fresh challenges will eventually appear, but one lesson will remain with everyone involved. Trust is earned through honesty. Relationships grow stronger through understanding, and sometimes the greatest act of courage is simply telling the truth before silence has the chance to become something much bigger. What are your thoughts on Carly's decision to seek answers, Britt's choice to finally speak openly, and Josslyn's heartfelt confession? Share your theories and join the conversation as we continue exploring more General Hospital-inspired fan stories filled with heartfelt moments, emotional twists, and unforgettable journeys.